Wait a minute. Welcome, everybody, once again to another This Week. And what a week it has been. This has been a great week. We saw live close shows this week. That's something brand new. So we did those on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And let me tell you, holy banana bread, they were a lot of fun. So I definitely, I'm looking forward to this coming week because we're doing closes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and well, yeah, also Friday. So this is going to be a great week coming up. This week, this week, this week anyway, on this week, we're still going to do the news. We're going to get that over with. We're going to, hit your guys' questions today. Definitely hit up the comments with all the questions you want, and we'll get to those answers. So this is going to be a little bit of fun here. I want to thank those of you who are here live. It's always awesome. You guys really stepped up in the week. I definitely appreciate that big time. And also those of you watching on the replay. You guys are awesome too. You guys absolutely rock. About 75% of my views do come from that replay. So, I definitely huge shout out to you guys as well. All right, another little thing about Blossom. I've been talking about Blossom going to the US. Well, it looks like that's going to happen in January. It's looking like it. I'm pretty sure. So that's going to be great. So those of you here who are American friends, you'll be able to partake in the social media app that's becoming a sensation in Canada called Blossom. So for those of you who don't know, Blossom is the social media app for investors. You can go on it. You can you can talk to other social media people, other investors, YouTubers. We're all there. It's pretty darn good. And they also just released a sort of a little Christmas gift for everybody, where you can see what sectors and all of that fun stuff. Sectors and stocks have done really well in 2023. So people have been posting those like crazy the last few days. So anyway, if you have not yet checked out Blossom, down below, there's a link. Head over. It's free. It's awesome. There is a paid version that gives you a ton of extra great stuff. But you know what? Start with the free version. See if you like it. I have a feeling you guys will. Anyway, let's move on. Quickly say hi to those in the house. We had Jordan in here striking first, saying hello there, Candace and chat family. Jonathan is, I think he's trying to do an emoji, but hand purple blue piece. Awesome. Sounds great. Bleak is in the house. Greetings all. Bleak is somebody who won a free membership on those live stream closes. So, if you want to win a free membership, channel membership, you want to definitely be there for that, because we're going to give one away every day this week coming up. John says, holy banana bread, we are live. Yes, we absolutely are. That's the great thing. Oh, and we also have Lisa pulling in really quickly saying, hello, everyone. Hi there, Lisa. Good to have you today. All right. Before we get to the news, we'll chat a little bit first. So next Sunday, we don't have it this week only because it's Christmas Eve. We've got the big Christmas Day this week special on the 25th. So on Monday. So we will be going live. I think it's 10 a.m. Eastern. So for those of you on the West Coast, you'll be able to watch this week with breakfast. So that'll be kind of fun. It's actually really odd. 2 years ago, roughly 2 years ago, I did the first, not this week at that point. I just did a Christmas live stream. I'm like, nobody's going to show up. I'm just going to be talking to myself for an hour or so. But it was and I think it's still the most popular live stream I've done in the history of the live streams on the channel. It absolutely, completely blew things out of the water. And then last year I did it again. Now it's pretty much, I've done it 2 years in a row. Doing it this year, it's pretty much a tradition. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Sammer's in the house with a hello. And we have Glenna. I don't think I've seen you before, Glenna. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live stream. And she's saying greetings. So absolutely, it's fantastic. Perfect. So yeah, I'm going to put together something special for that Christmas Day stream. It'll be fun. And here's the thing: I say this every year. Remember, your family has to come first on Christmas morning. Don't sort of say, "Kids, you can't open the presents until after Candace is finished." Nah, just open the presents. You can always watch it on the replay. Totally, it's great that you guys show up, but family should still come first. And I really, really, really take no offense if you want to spend that morning with your family. So anyway, let's hit the news. Let's get the first piece of news out of the way. All right. Whoa, I made it disappear. Okay. When I said get the news out of the way, I didn't mean that, but we're okay now. So, no, I should, there we go. There we go. It's all working now. So we had, of course, the rate hike decision down in the US this week. And no surprise, they have paused it again. This is their third consecutive month where they've paused it. So their interest rates down there, they're still sitting between 5.25 and 5.5%, which is great. Now, they had their CPI also drop this week, and inflation dropped to 3.1%. That's exactly what people were expecting. So it actually came in completely in line with expectations. The PPP, the PPI, the Producers Price Index, that dropped to 0.9% annually, which is good. There's good indications that inflation is slowing in the U.S., and that's one of the reasons that Mr. Papa Powell came out and indicated that, well, they think that there's going to be three rate cuts in 2024. And the market, those of you who watched on Wednesday, holy banana bread, we had a very green afternoon, all because of Papa Powell getting the market all excited. So to me, that was really, really, really fantastic. And this is looking good. Now, the Bank of Canada did come out. Tiff Macklin came out and said, well, I don't want to get everybody's hopes up with rate cuts, but we're keeping everything on the table. So he's kind of trying to stick in that middle ground, but I can pretty much, I don't want to say I can guarantee because I can't, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to see any more increases in Canada, and that will probably follow a very similar trend to what's going to happen in the US. All right. Prairie investors in here. Afternoon Candace and the Banana Bread Brigade. I think we're called the Banana Bread Militia. I think that's what everybody wanted to call us. But brigade, it works because then it's 3 B's, and I like that repetitive part there. So that's not too bad. Adrian from Passive Investing sold his position in Canoe. Yes, I saw that on Blossom. I have to check out his video and see what he's saying, or seeing why he got out of Canoe, because that would be very interesting. So I don't know the backstory on that yet. So I got to check that out. That is interesting, though. Prairie Investor says, my journey investing in stocks began back in January of this year. Have also been following your channel under my daughter's account since then and thought it was high time I set up my own account. Awesome. I'm glad to have you here. I know I think I've seen you once before, I think, at least in the chat. Or maybe I haven't, or maybe it could have been a comment. Sometimes it's one of these things, like I answer every single comment on my videos. So sometimes I'm like, did I see that in a comment or did I see it in a chat? It's hard to say, but welcome aboard. And thank you to your daughter for pointing out that, my channel had some use for you. And Chad says, good day, all fellow investors. Chad's another Prairie investor, by the way, Saskatchewan. And Prairie Investor says, thank you for all the time and effort put into your channel. Much appreciated. Hey, not a problem. And I mean, if I put all that time and effort in and you guys weren't here, then that would be silly. But you guys keep coming. You guys keep telling me what you want. And I do my best to deliver on that. Skiz says, who do you think will cut interest rates first, the Fed or the Bank of Canada? That's a really good question. And here's the thing, it comes down to, they could both cut first on the same month, but one of them might have their meeting first. But I think that would still count as a tie in that situation. But if I had to bet, I'm actually going to put it on the Bank of Canada. I find that they tend to make moves a little bit faster than the Fed does. So I would say the Bank of Canada if I had to choose. And Chad's saying the US. And you know what? It could very well be the US. Like I said, that's just an absolute guess. And we got John Locke in saying good day after all. Good day all. Hey John, it's good. You're a new name I've seen. I've actually there's a writer by the name of John Locke that I think I used to follow at one point, and he does I think a lot of self-publishing. I doubt you're that John Locke though, but still welcome to the channel. It's fantastic to see some new names here today. Some new names here today. Let's see. Wow, you got a good memory, Candace. Must be all that banana bread. Yes, banana bread builds neurons. I don't know if it does or not, but I do try. I try my best to remember stuff. Sometimes something may slip by. Usually what it is if I'm paying attention, I usually will remember. But if I'm not paying attention, that's when I can get into a little bit of trouble. But yeah, but Chad over there in Saskatchewan, and Chad, to be fair, you mentioned that you mentioned Saskatchewan a lot, and you're very pro Saskatchewan. So it's been reinforced that you're from Saskatchewan. And Chad says, hit that like button, turn it blue. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, when you guys hit that like button, it just basically tells the algorithm that, hey, there's people here, there's people enjoying this channel, this live stream, and it pushes it out so more people get to see it. Because sometimes, and I don't know why it is, but sometimes people who subscribed, I don't even pop up in their feed, and they're like, oh, I didn't know you had a live stream at that time. I wish it would have told me. So hit the blue button, hit the like button, turn it blue, push that out, and we'll all be fantastic. Skit says, banana bread build neurons. Wait till Elon hears this. Oh dear. I'm always afraid of Elon finding stuff out. So, yeah, Elon's kind of a funny duck. And I'm looking forward around the end of the year. So I think on our New Year's Eve show, I'm going to at least take a dive back into my predictions that I made last year. And we'll see how right, how wrong, how in between I am on some of them. I can't even remember what my predictions. I remember a few of them, but I don't remember most of them. I know I made some crazy prediction about Elon, and now he's had a crazy year, so I'm almost afraid to know if I was right on those ones or not. But we'll find out on New Year's Eve, of course. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Wayne says next Bank of Canada rate decision January 24th. The Fed meets January 31st. Yeah, I think those are both going to be pauses. I think if there is going to be some rate cuts in 2024, it's probably going to be in the second half. So in Q2 and Q3. So I don't think we'll see it in the first half. I think they're just going to make sure they're going to take that time just to make sure that inflation is still on that trend to move back down and hit those 2% targets as everybody kind of wants. All right, let's get to our next news story. Whoops, there we go. There we go. The little clicker thing is working. Tim Hortons Korea. So Tim Hortons this week opened up their first store in Seoul, South Korea. And they're planning to open another 150 stores in South Korea over the next 5 years. Now, here's the thing. The coffee market, specialty coffee market, is pretty well saturated in the West. So a lot of people are starting to look and turn towards Asia. In fact, this is the 7th Asian company to get their taste of Timbits. That's how, that's a market that's just untapped. And Asians are starting to move away from tea and start to enjoy some of these specialty coffees. It's a huge, huge market. So right now, Tim Hortons is in China, India, Pakistan, Thailand, the Philippines, and also Singapore. So they're starting to get a little bit of penetration there, and it's fantastic because I mean, there's not much more you can do in Canada there's a Tim Hortons pretty much on every street corner almost. So yeah, Asia's their next big target, and that could be good for that could certainly be good for investors. Just something to keep in mind. Wayne says, have you seen the infomercials with Musk and Trudeau and others pumping crypto trading for Canadians only? No, no. And I'm wondering how much of an infomercial they are, opposed to perhaps a scam. That almost sounds kind of scammy. Um, Yikes. Chad says for East likes their tea. Yeah, Far East likes their tea. I noticed Japan wasn't on that list. And I was almost thinking, really? That's kind of interesting. And Skiz says RBI, Restaurant Brands International. They are the owners of Tim Hortons. So buy, buy, and buy. I do like them. I do like them. John Locke says, thoughts on oil and gas stocks going into 2024. Lots of speculations on what Saudi will do. Yeah. The oil and gas industry has been kind of a very interesting, it's been a very interesting sector, I found, even going into last year. And even last fall as well, not this fall, but the fall before that, we were expecting prices to be going up. Everybody was. But then we had a lot of mild temperatures. We had a less demand. We had more lockdowns in China. And that caused a big plummet in the price of oil. So I think right now oil is pretty low. We're down in the, I think, 70 some odd dollars a barrel at this moment. So 2024, is it going to go up? Probably. It's probably going to go up. I think it's still one of these things where you may have to sit tight for a little bit with oil. But I noticed even in the last 3 weeks, we've had a little bit of an improvement in the price of oil. So it's kind of one of these things. I think the second half of 2024 may very well be big for oil. This year we've got the super El Nino causing issues. So, how many of you guys are going to have like a white Christmas this year? Probably not many. And that's because, we're not getting the polar vortex. The polar vortex right now is actually over Siberia. So it's actually going down the other side right now. Hence, part of the reason that we're getting some very, very warm temperatures, pretty crazy out there. I kind of would like to have snow for Christmas, but I know it's not going to happen this year. So just something to keep in mind. So we're going to definitely pay attention to oil. It is one of my favorite sectors. I haven't yet named my big sectors for 2024. I think last year I actually had oil as one, and that that didn't work out very well. And I was also looking at mining, and depending on parts of mining, I think did well, parts of mining didn't, but we're going to break that all down year end, of course. So don't worry about that too much. Okay. And our next story, this is actually kind of an interesting one. So Rogers, they have announced that they're going to be bringing cellular service to Canadians' wilderness. And they're going to do this via Earth or low orbit Earth satellites. So satellites, basically. So the service, what's nice about it is you don't need, of course, a cell tower. So you're able to hit some of the further north territories, which is great. It'll be huge, I think, when it comes to people getting lost or people with medical emergencies. I know the Coast Guard says they're very happy about this because sometimes when they're out on the ocean, their service is spotty at best. So they're going to start with just simple SMS messages initially and then move into a mass notification thing. They're going to use it's a Sunday, isn't it? So they're going to begin with SMS messaging. They're going to move into full voice and data services probably within a year or so. So that's going to be very interesting. Now, they also said they're not going to let any of the other carriers use this service, except for the SOS feature. So obviously in an emergency, it won't matter whose service you're on. You will still have that option for your 911 call from, let's say you're stranded up near Alert or something. So we'll have to see how that's all going to go. Now, Chad, I think this is in reference to oil and gas, says just buy PKI for oil, gas, well-managed company. Still in the pluses in Saskatchewan. Yeah, there's still a lot of good oil and gas companies out there for sure. And I'll do a sector video on them probably sometime early in the first quarter for sure. We'll take a look and we'll see what I can find, because I can find some pretty good companies out there. All right, now our next. Oh, good. We're getting through these pretty pretty fast. So we get a problem, folks, with maple syrup. So right now, there is an actual Canadian maple syrup shortage. So the maple syrup output this year has fallen to a 5-year low. Basically, we're down about 40.1% in production compared to last year. And this has to, of course, once again, it's all weather related. This all has to do with all of our sudden temperature swings and some of the intense storms. These things what they can do is they can actually kill some of the sap flow in the trees. So the drop, I mean, pretty much all provinces have been affected, especially Quebec, which, I mean, right now, Quebec is the producer of about 90% of our full maple syrup production. Now, they had a huge ice storm in the spring, and that certainly impacted that as well. But here's the interesting thing. I don't know if you guys know this, but we have a strategic maple syrup. We have reserve. It's kind of like the strategic oil one in the US, but for Canada, it's maple syrup. Now, normally we have a good amount of maple syrup in this. So 2 years ago, we had 100 million pounds of maple syrup in our strategic reserve. But this year we've had to dip in big time, because we got this other problem happening, is that there's a huge demand for Canadian maple syrup. Germany apparently is hugely getting into Canadian maple syrup products lately. But so, as I said, 2 years ago, we had 100 million pounds in our reserves. Now we're down to 15 million pounds. So we've used more than half of our reserves. Oh, gosh, we've used about 70. Oh, well, that looks 85. Yeah, 85% of our maple reserve we have used. Now, Quebec has said that they are looking to increase output next year. So they are adding 7 million taps. And that should hopefully, if we have a good year, they should be able to get the reserve back up. And if you find it funny that we have, and as Skit says, strategic maple syrup reserve, of course, we're Canadian. If you find it funny, there was actually a giant robbery at one point of our strategic maple syrup reserve. So these guys, they were stealing barrels of maple syrup. And what they were doing is they were taking the maple syrup, and they were leaving the barrels behind, but they were filling them with water. So one day they did I don't know if it was a spot inspection or something, and they discovered some of the barrels were filled with water and not maple syrup. The guys got caught. They got the maple syrup back, but I was just like, it's huge. Well, if you think about it, a barrel of maple syrup is worth a lot more than a barrel of oil. So that's our strategic maple syrup reserve. How fun is that? Oh, wow. Absolutely. All right. We're getting through these pretty fast. That's cool, because then we can, then we'll get into straight up questions, chat, talk, tangents, whatever we want to. Wartime houses. So you guys have probably heard, this has been all over the news. So the government is desperate to try to get a handle on, of course, the housing crisis. So what they're looking at doing here is they're looking to go back to a plan that we had at the end of the war. So basically what it does is that you would roll out a whole bunch of pre-approved home designs, and that should speed up, of course, the whole process of building new homes. And there is so much red tape when it comes to building a home, even just the blueprint of the home, the amount of things it has to go through, because it has to be, it has to go through a whole bunch of different agencies to make sure, one, that it's safe and it meets all of these regulations and everything. So all of that part, this plan would eliminate, because you would have, these pre-designed plans, and that would basically mean that they've already had all of their stamps, which is great. That's cool. So the idea, it comes straight out of World War II. So in the 1940s, Canada had a post-war housing strategy. because they were trying to find houses for this all of the soldiers returning from the war. So, that's how they did it to sort of get around a lot of the red tape. So that's what the government wants to do right now. Now, Canada still needs, and get this, 5.8 million homes by 2030 just to restore affordability when it comes to the housing market. Almost almost everybody kind of agrees that there's no way we're going to get to that level, but at least this is something. I think the entire thing does need to have simply a lot less red tape. We need to streamline this whole process because right now it's ludicrous. Even with this wartime housing, we still have a lot of issues. And then on top of that, I mean, we're just looking at regulations. There's still a lot of job vacancies within the construction sector. So sometimes you may get through all the red tape, but you've got nobody to hire to build it. So, we definitely have a lot of issues. Now, Mario is saying we have wartime homes in Ottawa. Very cool. Do you live in one of these wartime homes, Mario? I'm just curious. It's kind of cool. Skiz says a home catalog of approved homes has been used in BC this entire time. I don't know how this will help. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. So maybe BC's already ahead of the game. So we'll have to sort of see. But here's the thing. I know the Conservative Party talks a big game about wanting to get rid of a lot of these gatekeepers. So hopefully, if they get in 2025, they keep their word on that and they take care of a lot of these gatekeepers because, at this point, we have a lot of immigration. We have a lot of people who just don't even have houses. We have rents are going out of control. So I'd like to see this actually dealt with. Yeah, and Chad says, yeah, it's all tents out in BC. I think there's tents everywhere now. Even like BC has them. BC always, like, there used to be a tent city. When I used to live in Vancouver, there used to be like a little tent city in Stanley Park. But then keep in mind too, when I used to live in, when I used to live in Calgary, it was very interesting. At one point, if you were down on your luck in Calgary and you went to like a welfare or something like that, Alberta used to just give you a bus ticket to Vancouver, saying, "Look, it's cold here. Go to Vancouver. You won't freeze to death there. They have a better system than ours." But eventually, BC got very annoyed at Alberta, and then Alberta kind of had to stop it. But at one point, they did that, and that's just, to me, I find that kind of funny. But I mean, if I was like a homeless person, I'd rather be homeless in Vancouver than Calgary for sure, just based on the cold. See, Mario says, no, I don't live in a wartime home. They're nice and small. Okay. They're probably, yeah, I mean, they're probably not going to be anything super fancy. So, but that's kind of cool. And Enid's in the house. Whoops. Enid's in the house right here with a hello, Enid. I see Enid over on Blossom all the time. She is absolutely very present over there. So, hey, any of you who do check out Blossom, check out Enid too. Follow her, and she's a great one to interact with over there. Skiz says, Allen Gardens in Toronto is a tent city again. Oh man, yeah. And I know there's I think Parade Square in Halifax was a tent city. I mean, I know when I was a kid, there used to be this one guy who didn't have a house, and he had a tent along the side of the Bedford Highway. And it was always there. Like we'd be driving by in the middle of winter, like -15. And he'd still be in his little tent. And I was just like, oh gosh, I don't know how anybody could do that. So it's one of these things, like, I hate to see people living outside because I think we have enough vacant places, vacant offices, that we could do something with them, even if it is just to create short-term, shelters until we can get people to, get some of these issues worked out, get them working, get some houses built. And it's not just people who aren't working. There's a lot of people right now who have jobs, but there's just no places. So I've heard of people who, are making well above minimum wage, and they're living in their car because they just can't find a place. Um, so that's, to me, that's a little bit strange, like, because it never used to be that bad. Ian says, can't solve the housing problem without people taking a haircut on their home values. Well, that's probably true. That is probably true. And I know people won't like that, but at the same time, yeah, we just have to figure something out. Skit says, I bet he has neighbors now. Yeah, yeah, the guy in the tent on the Bedford Highway. I'm sure that I think I would rather be in Halifax than on the side of the Bedford Highway. Halifax, it's kind of interesting. When you look at the geography of Nova Scotia, when you look at Halifax, because it's sticking a little bit more towards the Atlantic, um, it tends to get a little mild. So there's lots of times like it can be raining in Halifax, and then you can get out as far as like Lower Sackville or something, and it would be snow. It's just kind of one of those things. All right, now, oh gosh, now comes the cow story. Some of you might have just come here just for the cow story. So the government has decided that there's too much methane in the burps of cows. So they have a new strategy to reduce methane emissions in cow burps. This is absolutely true, by the way, folks. So in a nutshell, they want to create an incentive for farmers to feed their cows foods that will make their cows burp less. So what kind of incentive is this? Now, this is where it gets a little kind of crazy. So the plan would give farmers offset credits for switching their cows to feed with additives, so like oil and extra grain, that reduce the amount of methane that cattle produce. So these credits can then be sold to companies to help them meet emissions reduction goals. So if you're a farmer and you buy these credits, or you're given these credits because you've switched to a government approved cow food, you can put them up on the market, find somebody who's out there with what's the word, who's out there just spewing stuff into the atmosphere, and say, hey, would you like to buy some of my credits so you could pay a little less carbon tax? So anyway, that's what's going on with these friggin' cows. It's just crazy. 9 says banana bread for life. Absolutely. Gotta love the banana bread. Mario, I came here for just the cows. Well, your life is now fulfilled, Mario. Friggin says, oh my God. So now the cows can't eat naturally. Well, the government went after the farmers with nitrogen. Now it makes sense. They're going after the cows too. So, but I mean, it is true. I mean, cows produce, when you look at all animals out there, cows by far produce more methane than anything else out there. And methane, it's basically roughly 27 times better than carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. So, yeah, I understand their thought process. I just find it a little bit odd the way they're sort of approaching it. Skiz says, I think farmers should capture the methane and become energy producers. There we go. Yeah, they could not burn off the methane, but get farmers doing carbon capture. It's just fun. Whoops. Sammer says the government should stop producing manure. It will help us more. Oh gosh, that's great. That's a good one, Sammer. That one definitely amused me really a lot. Mario says Holland farmers had the same issue, so they have a new government. So yeah, don't change the cow food, change the government. Wow, okay. That's actually pretty darn good. Friggin says Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome had it right. Oh, and that's a funny the theme to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is one of those songs. I think Tina Turner did it, that gets stuck in my head sometimes. I don't know why, but it does. So holy cow! I think I need a drink after that. Gastown. Yeah, exactly. Gas town. But oh well. Now the thing the article did not tell me is, will these cows still burp as much, but it just has less methane in it? I know it's a stupid question, but inquiring minds need to know. Jill says cattle at the moment don't eat naturally unless you buy the grass-fed beef. And that's probably true. That's probably true. Absolutely. Freegan says yes, Gastown. Yes. Good old Gastown. All right, let's get this next story out of the way. But at the same time, I kind of want to linger on the cows. But we need to move on. We need to move on. So debt, lower income. So Stats Canada, they came out with a report this week. They said that Canadians owe that that the amount Canadians owe relative to their income has come down a wee bit in Q3. Well, okay. It didn't come down a lot though. Here's kind of the discrepancy. So in Q3, debt rose by 0.8%. And well, income at the same time rose by 1%. So basically, as a result, yeah, we've come down a little bit because our income has gone up. But unfortunately, when you actually look at all of this debt, the service costs on that debt are way up. So people are still much further behind, even though this one little stat that came out by Stats Canada makes it look like it's a tiny bit better. It's actually not. That's just one of these crazy things. Like, I don't find we're going to find a lot of news. Well, next week, as I said, we're doing the Christmas Day one, so we won't have any news at all for that one. We'll do news throughout the week, though, during the live closes. Now, here's an interesting thing. Here's how fantastic these closes have been, guys. I figured that they would be like, quick little 20-minute come in, do a little bit on the close, and give away a channel membership. But these have been so great, and the questions have been flying, and we've been having such a good time with them that they're kind of averaging around 40 minutes. So that's kind of cool. Maybe this week, one of these days, we will even break that 40-minute mark. Maybe we'll actually have an hour-long one of these days, because I don't know, they're pretty fun. I enjoy them quite a bit. So that is kind of cool. Skiz says, who's getting this increased income? Because I'm not seeing any of it. Well, I think they're playing in averages. And if I know all the CEOs have been getting huge income boosts. So I imagine that pays that's part of it too. So, I I don't know what the average person is if you exclude the upper echelon, what they'd be getting. I imagine it would be a lot less. I mean, how have you guys, those of you who are working regular, your regular 9 to 5 jobs, have you been happy with the raises that you guys have been seeing this year? Are your employers, are they matching inflation, or are you falling behind like a lot of people? An interesting thing to think of. Now, luckily, hopefully, because you guys are all in the investing area, hopefully you've been beefing up your passive income, and you've also been taking, at least growing things on that side to make up for the inequalities that are happening with, regular jobs and things like that. So that would be kind of good. Let's see, Alan says, catching you in the replay every Sunday. Well, you're not in the replay now, Alan. You're on the live show. But yeah, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Skiz says, I've gotten the same 2% this whole time. Nowhere close to matching. Yeah, that absolutely sucks. And I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, Tiff Macklin at one point in the Bank of Canada, if you guys remember from last year, was coming out saying, oh, don't give people too much raises. You're going to create a wage price spiral. Of course, that never happened. There was no danger of that. But I know that I think the NDP really came down on them on that one because, yeah, people don't want to have to do that. All right. I don't have a lot when it comes to crypto rounds, except for one thing. So Ledger. Now, Ledger had such a great reputation for such a long time, but those of you who don't know what Ledger is, they're a hardware wallet that you can store your crypto in. Well, your crypto is technically on the blockchain, but you can store your keys on it for that crypto. So they had another security breach. Basically, they've said their Ethereum-based applications have been compromised, and they've got some patches out for it. There's been no word yet on if or how much money may have been lost in this breach, but it's one of these things. It's like, I mean, at one point, everybody thought Ledger was pretty much one of the safest places to go. But then they had that issue too, where if you were buying Ledger on like Amazon, like a Ledger Drive, sometimes people were reselling them after they've, after they kind of did a little bit of meanness to them first, basically buying a bunch of them, creating a back door, and then reselling them on Amazon. So you had to be kind of careful. But yeah, they've just been having a lot of issues. After this one here, I think I've got an affiliate link for Ledger down there, and I'm probably going to remove it. I think I don't know if I already have. I may have already removed it, but I'm going to double check and make sure it's gone because I don't want to send people over there while they're having some issues like this. I will see if I can find a more secure, perhaps one who's not having issues. But if you're holding Bitcoin right now, I'm still very confident though on Wealthsimple, on ShakePay. I think they're fine. I don't think you have anything to worry about there. But I'll see if I can find a hardware one that's a little bit better. So Sammer says Teaser is pretty good, or Tracer, sorry. So that might be one worth checking out. Yeah, I'm disappointed, Ledger, disappointed. I know I've probably just destroyed any possibility of ever doing a sponsorship with you guys, but I don't want to. I don't trust you. Simple as that. We'll leave it that way. Skiz says Trezor as well, 100%. So, all right, we got, you know what, between Skiz and Sammer, I trust these two. I would say if you're looking for a hardware, let's take a gander at Trezor. Do some due diligence before you buy, of course. But I think that would be a better place to go. All right, now, whoops, give me a second here. We're almost done with the news. I'll just move us back to here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to turn off our overlay. And I'm going to make me bigger. There we go. There, we don't need that right now because we're kind of done that. What's coming up next week when it comes to the financial calendar? In Canada, we do have a CPI coming out on Tuesday. So we'll be able to see what's happening there. In the US, we have on Friday, we've got the PCE, which is the personal consumption expenditures. It's basically a measure of what consumer spending, it's a measure of what consumers are spending on goods and services. So earnings wise in Canada, we got maybe a BlackBerry, if anybody cares about BlackBerry. So that will be kind of an interesting thing. The last week before Christmas. Yeah, exactly. This is it. This is the last week before Christmas. Hopefully you guys have done all of your Christmas shopping. But you guys are all smart. You guys are all, very keen when it comes to your finances. I'm sure you've all had your Christmas shopping done with all of the sales and all of that fun stuff. So that's not a bad thing. Yeah, absolutely. All right, there we go. So that's it for the news this week. Hit me up, whatever you guys want to talk about. Drop it in the chat, and we will certainly do that. So coming up this week on the channel, so on the Tuesday video, we have, we're going to take a little look at some REITs. And what I'm kind of looking for with these REITs is, so a REIT, for those of you who are new, real estate investment trust. What I am hoping to see is we've had close to about 4 months without rate hikes. So I'm thinking we're towards the bottom. So I'm looking to see some improvements over the last 3 months or so with some of these REITs. So that's how I ranked them this time. I found the top 5 REITs that had a little bit of growth in the last basically 3 months. So we got a few in there. One of them I know is a community favorite, and there's a few others that are very interesting. So we're going to take a look at that for Tuesday. All right. And Chad does not celebrate Christmas. Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, and that's the thing. Not everybody celebrates Christmas or Hanukkah or Festivus or Ramadan, Kwanzaa. Those are the only ones I can think of. There's probably more in there. So, but it is fun to celebrate the end of a year and the beginning of a new year. So hopefully, Chad, you at least celebrate New Year's too. Look forward to a new fresh start every year. So Ian says, I'm looking forward to the REIT video. Don't know where I found it, but I bought a lot of Plaza Retail. All right. All right. So yeah, well, it'll be I think it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Skiz says you should do a video on stock screeners. I actually think I did. I think I did one at one point, but I think it was a channel member video. But yeah, we'll certainly look at that. So, yeah, I mean, I love stock screeners. I find them a very effective way to sort of narrow out some of the stuff that you don't want to see. So let's see here. Jill says, wealth. All right. Wealth, the new year starts on a different date, January 7th, for the people who follow the Orthodox calendar. Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah. And what about the Chinese New Year? Isn't that like later even still? I don't know. I just go with the flow. It's just one of those things, I guess. But anyway, yeah. So what was I talking about? Oh, right. We were talking about that REIT video. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And let's see. Ian says, last time I was in Thailand, it was the year 2585. Okay. So either Ian's a time traveler or they have some kind of a different calendar system there. And they could. I absolutely don't know. I can't definitively say they don't. So is that what was going on there, Ian? I'm just kind of curious. Skiz says Chinese New Year on my birthday this year, February 10th. Ah, okay, February 10th. Okay, that's not too bad. Now you were born pretty close to Valentine's Day. So that's not too bad. Jill says, plus you have Friday's video and the membership video on Thursday. Well, it's not a video on Thursday. Yeah. So on Thursday, I'm doing 2 live streams. I'm doing the closed live stream, and I'm also doing a live stream for the channel membership folks. So that's going to be fun. Now, Friday's video, it's going to be a deep dive. I got to actually, once this is over, I have to put up the vote on that because I don't think I put the vote up yet. So we'll get that going right away. Find out what you guys want to see. Let's see. Vic Vin says, anything you don't like about your National Bank direct brokerage account? I'm thinking of switching over for USD trading. Any sneaky fees, i.e. transfer USD to other USD accounts like EQ Bank? EQ has the lowest conversion fee. Okay. Here's the thing. You can, with the National Bank direct brokerage, you can set it up with a USD account. So you do pay a conversion fee one time once you put it in. But then everything stays in USD at that point. And then as long as you're trading in USD, it's commission free. As long as you're not moving things from back and forth between Canada and US dollars. Because that's what I do. I just have the amount I have in the USD account, I just leave it in the USD account. It never comes out. Now, I don't know exactly what the conversion fee is, but I do remember that when I looked at it a long time ago, if you were moving larger sums, it was less. So I think it's comparable to, I do think it's comparable to Wealthsimple, but it's a simple one-time fee. And then, like I said, keep it in that account and you're not paying anything at all. Let's see. Lisa says, Granite REIT really took off. I bought around $64 4 or 5 weeks ago, 77 now. Not bad. Not bad at all. Prairie Investor says, looking forward to Tuesday's video. Also have positions in PLZ and Northwest Health. So yes, neither of those are in that video, but perhaps we can find something interesting. What's your opinion on RioCan and SRU? I think that's Smart Centers. I think that's Smart Centers. Correct me if I'm wrong. I love RioCan. RioCan has definitely been around for a while. In fact, I think on the 0 to 100K, I'm adding RioCan this time around. Smart Centers, they have all of those Walmart, sort of Walmart plazas, like all of the stores attached to Walmart and everything. So I think that is going to make them good. And they've also been in the positive and they've been doing pretty well. There's a strong chance that Smart Centers may be showing up on this video. Don't want to spoil it, but I kind of just did. Let's see. Wait till the interest rates come. REITs will make a comeback even more so. Yeah, absolutely. And see, this is kind of what I'm thinking, is that I'm thinking we're at the bottom of what's going to happen to a lot of these REITs. And when the cuts come, they're going to start to explode. Even now, they're already starting to slowly start building up. But when we get the cuts, they're going to move back up. And normally a REIT is not about growth. It isn't. It's normally just straight about passive income, because what they're doing is they're basically passing on the taxes to you, and you're keeping it in a registered account, so you're not paying any of those taxes. So it's a good system. That's why you usually get a really good payout on REITs. But they normally, when you look long term on a REIT, they normally don't grow a ton. But where everything has been suppressed between the bear market and the rate hikes at that point, a lot of these REITs are really, really far down, and they're going to come back up to hit that equilibrium in better market times. And that's the opportunity, right? The opportunity is to ride them back up and make that growth. And then at that point, you got two choices. You'll be like, okay, I'm happy with the passive income. I'm going to just keep it as is. Or you could always just sell for the profits and then put it into something else that gives you a better total return. It depends on what your individual goals are. All right. Chad says, Rio been down the last 5 years. Soon as I break even, it's sold. Okay. Yeah. RioCan has had some interesting stuff, and they are down. They're absolutely down. They did have one little peak, if I remember correctly, about 2 years ago, maybe. But yeah, they're, for the most part, they've been down. Enid says, I own both, but both are doing poorly. Yes, they're going to be, you're kind of in that boat with Chad. It's going to take a while before you get back to the green, especially if you bought it before all of this has happened. Let's see, Chad, CRT.UN. Yeah, that's the Canadian Tire REIT. I do like that REIT, absolutely. And I think it's kind of one of these interesting things. Like, if you look at a company like, I'm not going to use Canadian Tire, I'll use McDonald's. But when you look at McDonald's, the head office of McDonald's, they're not really a fast food company. They're actually a real estate company. What they do is, everybody who wants to franchise into McDonald's, they have to lease the land from McDonald's. That's where McDonald's makes all of their money, from all of their franchisers leasing the locations. So it's kind of an interesting thing. There's some really fascinating YouTube videos out there on that. Jonathan says, can the unit price of HISA ETFs fluctuate significantly as people buy and sell? Any of these cash ETFs, they shouldn't have a huge fluctuation. Most of them, if you look at them, and you'll see it, it'll almost look absolutely symmetrical from payout day to the day before the ex-dividend. They're slowly rising, and they will do that. But they're not going to rise a lot, but they will rise a little bit because people are buying. So buy and sell pressure doesn't really impact them that much. It's not like there's an actual product in this case. It's more or less kind of a funky savings account, if you want to look at it that way. So no, you're going to basically, the best time to buy one of these stocks, whether it be, HISA or maybe CASH, is the ex-dividend day, because that's when it's going to be at whatever the normal set price. So let's say the set price is $50. It would be $50 on that day. And then by the time you get to your ex-dividend day, it might be, $50 and, 75 cents or something. Whatever the curve is on that. And Chad has said, buy cash, lowest MER fees, and buy at the first of the month. So there we go. Yeah, cash is definitely a good one. I have moved into cash at times, so definitely something to go in there. Now, keep in mind, the company is still, they're still making money, right? Because they know that it's kind of almost like a bank, if you think about it. They have all of that income pumped into their company, well, into their stock. So they are able to use that. They're probably finding a way to make a bigger interest than what you're getting paid out. But it's still, it's a good deal. It's a good way to sit some money. So that way there you are picking up a half decent interest on it without, it's better than holding just raw cash and not having anything happen to it. So, just sort of put it that way. All right. There we go. I'm just closing off one other thing. So yeah, that tends to be, whoops, what am I doing here? There we go. All right. So yeah, we're coming up towards the end. Unless you guys got more to talk about, just drop it in and I will, we'll certainly go with it for that. So definitely this week, we got our closes coming up. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They're going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be the last week for people to tax lost harvest. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some red in there, just putting that out there. But what's great is the following week, I think it's a 3-day week. Yeah, it's a 3-day week on the market. So I'll be here for those 3 days. We should have green markets if we were into a Santa Claus rally. So I think that's going to be really interesting. Let's see here. Chad says, I think the market is at the bottom or more pain in 2024. I think I think the beginning of 2024 is going to start off fine. I think we'll see a Santa Claus rally next week, not this week. I think that's going to pump into 2024 a little bit. I think things are going to look good as we move towards those rate hikes. I think the market's going to be excited. I think people are going to be excited, provided we don't have any other black swan events that pop up. I think 2024 will be definitely better than 2023. We will still have ups and downs as normal. But I think overall, we should be higher at the end of 2024 than we were at the beginning. So it should be a green year. I also think 2024 will be the year of crypto. I think you're going to see some big movements with Bitcoin, especially if we get that the spot Bitcoin ETF. And I know that BlackRock has been I think they were trying to change their application a little bit for their spot Bitcoin ETF to make it a little bit easier for the SEC to approve. I didn't get a chance to dig too deep into that, though, so I'm not fully sure of exactly what they did. But I think that is one of these interesting things. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of stuff going on. So busy week. Oh yeah, busy week ahead. Oh, this is going to be an insane week. I've got 2 videos, 5 live streams, 6 live streams. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun week, but that's fine. I'm okay. Chad says just hate buying at all-time highs like Microsoft VFV. Yeah, it's gonna be one of these things that excuse me. I think this year we're just gonna be it's gonna be a good year. It does hurt buying at all-time highs because the problem is you never know what's going to happen when it comes to all-time highs. Are you at an all-time high? Look at how many people bought Bitcoin when it was up around its all-time high, because they were all excited thinking, oh my God, this thing is going to go to 100K. And it didn't. So it's one of those things. That's one of the reasons that dollar cost averaging does tend to work really well. Because if you're buying, if you're regularly buying a stock, whether it be, I buy 10 shares of the stock the first of the month, every month. Well, you're going to hit downs, you're going to hit middles, you're going to hit ups, you're going to end up in a fair area. So it kind of avoids it. Whereas that person who lump sum buys and just happens to buy at the top, and then they're spending the next year hoping, because there's a crash, they're spending the next year hoping to just get green again. So definitely one of those things to look at. Let's see. Yeah, all the good stocks are at all-time high. Okay, let's see here. Skits, yes, this is going to be a big part of the second half of the year. So the U.S. presidential elections in November, this is going to be a poop show. I think it's going to be, especially, Trump and Biden again. I can't even believe with everything going on, it's almost like no matter, it'll be amusing to watch. And with these elections as well, they do tend to be good for the market. So I think that's going to be interesting. But here's the thing. 2025, it could be an interesting year, but I'm not going to speculate too far on that, because sometimes you get, as people are trying, especially as the current president is trying to loosen up support, a lot of times there's a bit more spending and a bit more money that gets pumped into things, including the markets. So we'll have to see how that looks. Yes, sometimes elections can be pretty good for stocks. I will do a video on this. I guarantee you, I will do a video on this once we start to get a little bit closer to the election through policies like tariffs. Yeah, absolutely. According to Wayne, my Christmas request, Going Infinite by Michael Lewis. I have never heard of that. I have never heard of that. Is that, I don't know if that's a song or if that's a monologue, or I'm not even sure who Michael Lewis is. Oh dear. All right. I'll have to look at that. I'll have to look that up, Wayne, because I don't know who that is. Prediction. Skiz has a prediction. Biden doesn't make it to November. Some like Kamala or Gavin Newsom take over. That's possible. He says he's going to do it, but we'll have to see. Chad says, any idea why Buffett sold a part of his portfolio to buy BTC? I don't see him buying BTC, because I'm pretty sure, both him and yeah, they've never been into, they've been very anti-crypto. And I look at that as being, part of it is age. I think if you're that old, it's hard to sort of grasp it, because it kind of does come off like kind of a flim-flammy type thing. So I doubt he bought BTC. I think he's just sort of sitting back on a little bit of money just in case things go bad. His book on Bankman-Fried. Oh, okay. I have not read that. That would be an interesting read. Okay. That what Larry Fink said too. Buffett does not understand crypto and never will. No, he's probably, well, it's not probably, he's too old to grasp it. Sort of like my grandfather, back in the day, and this was a while ago, a Walkman completely baffled him. A simple thing, but what can you do? Let's see, The Big Short, Flash Boys. I know REITs are very tax inefficient in a non-registered, but how bad is Canoe in a non-registered? I wouldn't hold Canoe in a non-registered. One of the reasons I wouldn't is they sometimes do some interesting little things around the beginning of the year where it affects the average cost base. So there was like an annual, they did this one special dividend a couple of years ago, and what it actually did is it lowered your average cost base. So if you were holding it outside of that, it just didn't. It wasn't a good situation. I mean, I like Canoe, but I wouldn't want to. I don't like them outside of registered. I will put it that way. Uh, all right. Buffett bought Occidental. Uh, bought the dip. No, not bad. Chad sold OXY, Procter Gamble, and TSM. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Warren Buffett. Gosh, I don't even know how. I wouldn't be surprised if if he is getting pretty close to his time as well. I don't like to speculate on death, but he's getting up there. And that I do know that they have, like, Berkshire Hathaway will continue. They've been grooming people to replace them for the longest time, like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. So they'll continue, and I think I think they'll still have that respect. Somebody else will probably become more of the front people for it, and it'll take a while for us to all adapt to them and sort of look at them with googly eyes. But I'm sure it'll probably happen if they prove success first. All right. And Chad meant to say that Buffett sold. Okay. Wayne Smith. Wayne Smith. Just Wayne. Wayne said Adrian cashed out a Canoe and replaced it with USCL, BKCL, ENCL, GDV, and YTSL. Yeah. I mean, Canoe at one point, going back, let's go back, 2, 3 years. There weren't a lot of high dividend options there. Canoe was one of them, and it was fantastic. It's still I mean, I still like the management. I understand what they're doing over there. But there's a lot more options there now. And if you're in a situation too that you don't have the luxury of holding it in a registered account, then you probably don't want to be holding it. But that's just my opinion. I always put that out there only because there are ramifications especially with that average cost base, the way it moves with Canoe. All right, and let's see here. Prairie Investor says, I'm quite a bit younger than Buffett, and I too don't get crypto. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, my mom has crypto, and she's 72, 73. I don't know how old my mom is anymore. I forget, but she doesn't get it either, though. She saw that it was when she basically saw it flying up back in the last time it started shooting to all-time highs. She just had to throw 500 in. And now she's like, I bet you it's going to zero all the time. But sometimes, like, she wanted to sell it like last week, and I talked her out of it because I'm like, look, I said, it's not a lot of money, and if you don't need it, you might as well leave it sit there with what's going on in 2024 so that she can at least pick up a little bit of extra money. All right. Vic Vin says he bought 600 million of Occidental stock. And Ina says, I'm too old for crypto as well. And there's nothing wrong with it. This is the beautiful thing about investing, right? You don't have to invest in everything. You only need to invest in the things that you understand. And I think that actually comes from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett was not one of these people to go out and, hold a couple hundred stocks. He would basically invest in the ones that he understands. And if you don't understand crypto, well, you shouldn't invest in crypto. There are other options out there. There's sectors I know people in this community that will not invest in the communication sector because they hate the big three. They absolutely hate them. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, because you can still have a diversified portfolio and be completely avoid of one sector. Obviously, the more sectors you have, the better your diversification, but you don't have to have every sector. It's not one of these all or none scenarios. All right. Skid says Adrian is an income guy. He even said Canoe is good, but the changes he made gives him $200 more a month. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, now Adrian he's pure passive income, like a lot of covered calls. I'm not sure if he's doing split core. He must be. At least in good or in better markets, he's probably doing split core. But here's the thing, and I think this is the thing with Adrian as well. Even though his investing style is completely different from mine, um, you know, what he needs to be doing is with his investment styles, he needs to be monitoring it, I think, like a hawk, making adjustments as the things change, because a lot of things change in the whole covered call scenario. And you can make I mean, you can bring in a pretty good passive income, but you want to make sure that it can support what you're getting. And you need to be, if that company, so let's say, for example, starts lowering its dividend, you want to be in a position that you have that option to move to another company that will do a little bit better for you. Skid says a lot of new leveraged and cover call products being introduced. Yeah, they're very, very popular. I wouldn't be surprised if in 2024 we start to see the synthetic covered calls enter the Canadian market. Those are the ones that are being used by the yield max. Let's see. Wayne says Greg Abel is set to take over from Warren Buffett. He was born in Edmonton. Ooh, there we go, a Canadian, and graduated from the University of Alberta. I approve. Would you make a video about RESP, so Registered Education Savings Plan? Yeah, I can definitely do that. It'll be 2024, obviously. I don't have any room left in 2023, but yeah, I'll definitely do that. So for those of you who have kids, an RESP is a huge, huge opportunity, because when you put deposits in there, the government will match up to a certain amount each year. So you can get free money towards your kids' education. So that is a huge bonus for sure. There's also a similar one called the RDSP, so Registered Disability Savings Plan. And that one will do the exact same thing. So, if you have a disability, that's a good option too, because anytime the government's willing to match things that you can then use towards your retirement or towards your education, that's not a bad thing. Vic Van says, what do you think of the Defiance brand ETFs paying out 60 to 70% distribution? So JEPI, QQQY, and there's a new Russell 2000. If you add up the NAV value change and dividend, the value return is a bit less. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you're problem is when you're going this high, it's absolutely not sustainable. You've got a situation where you're giving out so much money that you're going to run into, most cases, you're going to run into some erosion of the actual value. But keep in mind, I mean, you got to plan for that, right? So when you are actually getting, excuse me. So when you're actually getting a huge payout like that, you have to kind of expect to see things shrinking a little bit on the side. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things. I'm a little leery of some of them, but I know there's people who are absolutely bonkers over JEPY and QQQY, and there's a few others out there as well. And sometimes I hear about them. I hear about them a lot, but I don't think they're sustainable long term. So I mean, history and time will give us a better idea of how these things are all going to shake out in the end. Excuse me. Enid says, I think he gets discounts from Hampton and other financial institutions. Okay. And what do you think about cost? Cost. I got to look that one up. I know I've run into it. I know I've touched on it before, but let me take a look. COST. Oh, Costco. Oh, that's hilarious. I know exactly. I've never really call it cost. And I was also thinking Canadian, but that's fine. Costco's I think is a really good investment. I think they're resistant to recessions. I know they've also, with these gold bars they've been selling, they've made a killing. They can't keep them in the store when they put up whenever they get them in, they go out just as fast. So I do think that Costco is a good company. And as Chad said, let's pull Chad up. All-time high, and just gave a $15 special dividend. And you keep in mind, a lot of these recession-proof companies are at all-time highs. Things like Costco and Alimentation Couche-Tard. Give another example. Enid says, I love Costco, watched it for a year and finally bought it at $6.28 last year. Very expensive, but I didn't eat to wait, and I didn't want to wait any longer, because hopefully you ate. Thinking, but yeah, no, Costco's a good company, absolutely. Wayne says, Candace, what would you like for Christmas? What would I like for Christmas? In my ideal world, I don't know. Just you guys keep coming along and supporting the channel, all that fun stuff. Maybe a super chat or two on the Christmas stream would be kind of fun. No pressure, folks. But yeah, it's just, I love being here. I love interacting with you guys. So you guys are my Christmas gift. We'll leave it at that. Well, that was a little corny, but we'll leave it at that. Candace is celebrating with us daily. Yeah, it seems like it this time around. But no, it's cool. I love, like I said, I love this. I love what I'm doing here. What's this about a registered disability program? I don't have one, but I could easily develop something if I can tax advantage it. Yeah. Well, yeah. Now, obviously, I think there's probably you probably have to have something pretty serious, or something that's, there's no cure for type thing. Like if you were blind, for example, I think you could have it, or if, yeah, something like that. Ian says, if I pull money out of a TFSA tomorrow, can I put it in a different TFSA January 1st? Do you think it will move fast enough? Talking about taking cash from Investor Line and putting it into Wealth Simple. It depends on if you can move it, first of all. So here's the problem. A lot of times, like a lot of brokers, when you sell something in your TFSA, they won't let you even pull it out of that account until it's settled. So it could take the 3 days, but you probably are going to be fine if you wanted to pull it out now, because here's the thing. The 3 days to settle, to have it done before the end of the year, is the 22nd, I think, is the last day for that. So if you did it tomorrow, you're probably going to be absolutely fine. Then you can move it, because once you've got it out of your TFSA, that's fine. As long as, and here's the thing with the TFSA, like I know when I talk about tax loss harvesting, I mentioned, it goes by the settle date. When it comes to your TFSA, it goes by the calendar. So if you pull things out of your TFSA, but it has to leave your TFSA, not sell it. So you have to leave your TFSA on the last day of, well, I'm trying to think, you may not be able to pull it. Keep in mind of the weekends, because I think New Year's is on the 1st. So you'd have to do it like the 28th or something like that. You will get that space back. You'll get it back on January 1st. So definitely an interesting thing. Chad mentions Dollarama dropped almost 10% after their quarter report. I saw that. I was actually a little surprised it was that much. I mean, they weren't doing that bad. And I still have full confidence in Dollarama. Like I still, if anything, this is a nice little gift for people who do want to get in, to at least get in it a little bit. But yeah, that was surprising, to be honest. Enid's waiting till it gets down to $85 to get in. Well, hopefully it does that for you. Chad took investments out of BNS to Wealth Simple. Took 3 months. Alimentation 2-star also drops a wee bit too. Yeah, I think there's going to be, I mean, and that's the thing, nothing goes straight up. So even these, well, I can use CNR. CNR is one of my favorite stocks. I mean, it goes up and down, but I mean, overall, it's on an upward trajectory, and it is a recession-proof stock. But these downs are great opportunities. If I want to add like another share, for example, that's Probably not going to add it when it's on its way up. I'll probably wait for a correction and do it in the correction. But yeah, alimentation to startup. Ah, that's the one that's so fun to talk about. So fun to say. Yeah, no, I love it. And CNQ, yeah, CNQ is down too. But once again, CNQ has had a fantastic year. There's no way around it. So corrections are normal. I'm okay with that. CNQ is definitely a company that I think will do well, continued into 2024. Vic Vin says, Ian, you can move your TFSA now into a different TFSA before January 1st, so long as the amount doesn't breach. Yeah, that's true. If your limit is 85K and you're moving 20K, you can do it pre-Jan. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't mention that, but yeah, if you have tons of contribution room left open, then just you can do the move whenever, but still do it before January 1st, because if you were to move, let's say in Vic Vin's example, if you were to move the 20K on January 1st, then you've lost that 20K room until January 1st of 2025. So you always want to kind of keep that in mind. Okay, and Prairie Investor says, I believe if you have more than one TFSA, you can transfer funds between them. There's a few different ways that you can do this. So for example, let's say you're in the middle of the year and you wanted to move from, let's say you were in iTrade with Scotiabank and you were like, oh, I want to move to Wealthsimple. There's forms that you can fill out through Wealthsimple, and you have to get some of your information from iTrade, and it will transfer it for you intact. That doesn't impact your contribution room at all. So that's one way that you can do it. Now, I don't know if you could do it with I think it's almost an all or nothing. I don't know if you could do it if you just wanted to move a couple of stocks. But you can definitely move your entire TFSA pretty easily without it. So that's not too bad. Now, if you have two TFSAs and you want to just move money back and forth between different companies, I don't think it's something that you could do easily. But once again, if you have tons of contribution room and there's no danger of you filling your contribution room, you can do it. But keep in mind, if something were to happen, let's say you're thinking, okay, well, I got like $40,000 of contribution room. There's no way I'm filling that this year. And so you move something move 20,000, all of a sudden, you've lost some space, and then you got an inheritance and you're like, so, there's always things that can happen. Now, Enid says, I plan to move TFSA from Quest Trade to Wealthsimple next year. So yeah, if you're moving the whole thing, pretty easy. It's pretty easy. You just have to fill out some forms. Oh, perfect. I'm glad you looked into this. I looked into this yesterday, Candace. You can move individual stocks in kind. Oh, perfect. See, I did not know this. So no fee with Wealthsimple, but big banks charge a pretty penny per transfer. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So yeah, you could do it, but fees, I hate fees. I don't like to pay fees at all. And then, 10 to 20 days. It does take time. Absolutely. Too many fees at Quest Trade. Yeah, absolutely. So it's one of these things. I'll pull Vic Vin off. It's one of these things I hate paying fees. So that's why right now we've got, we got Wealthsimple. We've got National Bank. I think there's also like Mogo, and I think there's something else out there that somebody keeps telling me about, Moo or something. So there's definitely options out there for lack. But once again, here's the thing. If there's a brand new company up and running, and I don't know a lot about the company, I would rather stick with something like a Wealthsimple or a National Bank, something that I have a lot more faith in. Now, here's one of the things. If you guys saw the EQ video, one of my long-term hopes is I'd love to see EQ come up with a brokerage, because I have a feeling it would also be commission-free. So that could be very interesting to see what that would look like. Whoops. Enid says, if your income is high, RRSP first. Well, it really depends, though. If you qualify for the first home savings plan, I would actually fill that up first. And then I would look at RESPs, for example. I'm trying to think who did this. I think Canadian and T-shirt did a really good video on this, like within the last month to 2 months. That's worth checking out. That sort of breaks down how you should fill in what order. But yeah, so your first home, you want to get to that. You want to get to your 8,000 limit or 16,000 limit after January. And you also want to make sure that anything like an RESP or an RDSP that gives you bonus information, that gives you bonuses from matching deposits from the government. You want to make sure that that's up so that you're not losing any of that money. And, then at that point, it comes down to, I like the TFSA, but if your income is very high, the RRSP as needed to lower some of that taxes down, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Questrade gonna hate me when I move my TFSA to Wealthsimple. You must have a half decent looking TFSA there, Skiz. Jackie says, hi, Miss Banana Bread. Jackie from London, Ontario. Welcome back. Welcome back. I remember you from last week. We were talking a little bit about London. What do you consider high? That's a good question. I think and this is my answer. My answer is that it really boils down to whether what you want to do tax wise, because you got to remember the way tax brackets work too. Is that sure, you can knock yourself down to a lower tax bracket, but if you're only a little bit into a new tax bracket, there's probably only a little bit of your income that's being taxed at that really higher rate. So you gotta have to sort of do what makes sense when it comes to your taxes. Enid says, I'll keep RRSP at Questrade for US conversions with Norbit Gambit. Yeah, Norbit Gambit is a interesting little thing. Once again, Canadian in a T-shirt has a great video on how to use the Norbit Gambit to move money from US to America, from Canada to US without paying some of the crazy conversion fees. Skiz says anything over 6 figures is high income. And Enid says over 96,000, you pay 38% tax. Yeah, absolutely. Now, there are ways to mitigate that number down a little bit. Especially if you have your own business, you can write off a lot and really sort of knock that out of that area if you play it right. Chad says, I like getting the majority of my tax paid out back, then reinvest. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's kind of like with taxes, for example, when they deferred the taxes for anybody who received supports during the pandemic. I took that 1-year deferral, not because I had the money to pay the taxes. I didn't care about that. I'm just like, well, hey, this is a loan. This is basically an interest-free loan for a year. Might as well invest it, make some interest on it, and then pay the taxes the next year. And that's what I did. Chad says, I'm 42% due to overtime. Yeah, overtime. Yikes. Overtime is sometimes not worth it, honestly. Seasonal worker. Yikes. All right. Ouch, Chad, buy RRSP. All right. Well, anyway, guys, we're at the 1 hour and 30 minute mark. Well, technically 1 hour and 29 minute mark, but close to 1 hour and 30 minute marks. Thank you guys for all showing up here today. I think we had a fantastic conversation. Be sure, those of you who can make it to these closes this week, we're going to just blow the roof off of YouTube as we have a pretty darn good week. So until then, I'm going to bid you guys Oh, wait a minute. One last thing here. We'll answer. Chad says, yeah, ouch, paying for Trudeau jet fuel. Eek. Oh, here we go. We'll end on this one. Candace, we love you. Get the bell ready. Yes, I'm very bad with the bell. I have a bell. Like, see, I have a bell right here. That I use for the bell on these lives. And I made it on Friday, but Wednesday and Thursday, I was a couple minutes off. Everybody in chat was like going, the bell, market's closed. So anyway, that was fantastic. All right. So anyway, everybody, I'm going to go have some supper now. You guys all enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see a lot of you guys tomorrow. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.